Hello and welcome to the GamerRoos podcast. This is the second episode being recorded on September 20th, 2022. I'm joined today by Juvi Luna and Minh Tran. Oh boy, do we have a topic today. So, would you like to lead me off here, Juvi, on just what exactly is going down?
So, for those of you, like Patrick, living under a rock, there have been a lot of leaks going around. And no, we're not talking about plumbing leaks. We're talking about gaming leaks, specifically with one of the hottest games and one of the biggest upcoming games, GTA 6.
Now, you'd really have to be living under a rock to not know this one because it's been all over everywhere. Granted, this is because GTA 5, in case you hadn't heard, was basically the biggest video game of all time and still continues to be one of the best sellers nearly a decade after its release. Of course, substantiated by re-releases and all that stuff. But the fact that the sequel is currently under some serious, contention right now, well, let's get into it. So, particularly what happened was that just a few days ago, an anonymous hacker decided to break into the Rockstar file system and stole, and I think subsequently deleted, GTA 6 source code, as well as many GTA 6 art assets and gameplay footage. All of this has been leaked to the public, and it has been corroborated by Rockstar Games themselves. And previously, there were more threats to release more stolen content, but those threats have not been followed up on. It's very possible that the resulting stuff was a big old nothing burger. At the same time, it's always possible. Minh, do you have any comments on that?
Yeah, the biggest part of the leak is the source code, which for any gaming company is their prized possession. By going into that kind of thing, right now, the biggest contention for Rockstars is to basically confirm that these leaks are real, which from what I'm seeing, they have confirmed it. And the next step right now would be to delay the game and pick up the scraps that the leaks have kind of made. You don't want the people be looking at your pre-development or mid-development stuff. It looks horrible.
Right, exactly. I think
especially from like me as a new game dev and possibly other game devs out there, and they look at their like middle of the run mid-production is not that great, and you don't want anyone to see that light of day, just like that little dark side of your history. Mm-hmm. I bet Juvi can say a word about that.
Yeah, so Rockstar, in terms of confirming it, they did actually confirm it. They gave a nice little white text on a black background message, basically just saying, yeah, what you saw is real. We don't think we're going to change anything. We're just going to continue as expected, which, I mean, is a good outlook to show to the public, just showing that although what they saw is real, it's not going to impact them. And they're not letting some hacker just ruin their plans. But, I mean, from everything we've seen, especially with the source code, that is super hard to just put out a statement about. I'm willing to bet they are kind of like that episode of SpongeBob where his mind is on fire and all the SpongeBobs are running around. That's Rockstar right now.
Right. Now, my philosophy on the situation is that the source code being leaked is obviously the biggest part, because if you have the source code leaked, that means a lot of vulnerabilities in multiplayer. That means a lot of vulnerabilities even in single-player content.
Exploiters, and even like poachers.
Poachers, that too.
Getting like your source code, just building off that back end and creating a totally different game, quote unquote.
In theory, right. Now, I think they could just continue with the art assets as planned, because I think of the gameplay release and of the art assets release, it honestly doesn't look that bad so far. I mean, it's, of course, still in a very early stage of development, but the comforting situation about this is that GTA 6 is fine so far, especially considering the recent dumpster fire that was the Saints Row reboot. Good God.
And this is not the first time any game company has had their stuff leaked, even if it's not source code or even if it was.
The biggest one that comes to mind is the Half-Life 2 beta leak back in 2003. Of course, we were all but children then, but as you can hear from accounts at the time, it was very major, and it basically delayed Half-Life 2 by a full year, which meant a lot more back then. After all, I mean, I guess Half-Life kind of started that trend, but waiting a decade in between sequels it's really fun.
It's rough.
Yeah, it's rough.
Yeah, you know, it's actually interesting. Going off of just historical leaks, there's an interesting cycle that happens with Sonic games where everyone gets excited about a game because they read a leak from some anonymous user. And, of course, half the fan base is just saying, no. It's coming from 4chan, or it's just a random dude on Twitter. Don't believe it. The recent example of this is actually with Sonic Frontiers. Initially, about 2 years ago, it was said that the next big Sonic game, then called Sonic Rangers, would be an open-world 3D platformer, which, for those of you unaware, the new game coming out hopefully sometime in November is going to be Sonic Frontiers. And what is it? A 3D platformer that is open world. They say it's open zone, but almost all the stuff that they said in the leaks, they said that there would be bosses where you could only fight them as Supersonic, and they weren't the final boss. They even specifically named an ability called the Psyloop, which is the main gimmick of Sonic Frontiers. And this just happens over and over again. And it's just interesting to see that this just keeps on happening.
Well, to build off of that point, sorry to cut you off, man.
You're good.
But the concept, so one of the ways that Rockstar has responded to this gigantic controversy is that they're going very scorched earth. Anything that is not discussing the leaks is almost immediately getting struck down. And that's why we're not playing too far into specifics in this show. But at the same time, what is this a morally ethical thing to go forward with? Because if it's, because after all, I mean, speculation is an industry almost in and of itself, and companies have been using speculation as as basically an advertising gimmick for, I think, a decade now.
The thing on that with leaks and all, it's a double-edged sword, really. Like, there's many times where many games, I can't remember which specifically, they profited off like the leaks by like hyping it up, playing off of it. But then there's our companies that just flat out, I'm just going to change the entire game just because you leaked this little thing. Or going off another thing on the same kind of tangent on the leaks, theory crafting about the game's story, lore, or even like content. Why are you like changing up your game just because your fans are figuring out the secrets, right? Like that you specifically either hid in there or, I don't know, just an Easter egg.
It's difficult because, of course, these materials were stolen illegally. And realistically, the reason why everybody's getting in such a big thing about it is because, one, the game journalists know that this is, when it comes out, it's probably going to be the game of the decade, much like GTA 5 arguably was for the 10s. It's weird to think that we can have the foresight for that sort of thing, but considering the scale of
the gaming industry isn't really that unpredictable. Like, most AAA games will probably get their fan base back, especially for GTA 5 or like just the GTA franchise itself. That's just a huge community there. The same thing with I would say like the Nintendo fan base, and it's all running off the fan base. It's hard to retain like a big portion of your fan base if you kind of just make something too new. And I don't think that's what GTA 6 is going to do. Sure, they'll update some things, but they'll most likely stay towards what their core gameplay is and really just drag in their fan base even closer. So I don't think anything would be lacking. And especially for like Star Wars games. Star Wars has like a huge lineup coming up too with a sequel to their Souls-like game. I think it was Fallen Order.
Yeah,
that's Fallen
right.
Order. Okay.
Yeah, they're having a sequel to that, and they're pumping out, 2 new series on Netflix? Or was it on Disney Plus? Disney Plus.
Yeah, it's Disney Plus.
Right now, I think the industry, outside of the leaks, right, they're trying to be a multimedia company. The biggest example is Riot Games with Arcane series. Like, now you have Assassin's Creed. They just announced a partnership with Netflix to make a new Assassin's Creed live action. Hopefully, it would be better than the movie they put out, 2016.
I actually went to go see that movie.
2016, yeah.
It wasn't good, but I didn't think it was bad.
It wasn't good. It wasn't bad, but
it was just aggressively forgettable.
It was, yes. For a lack of a better word, their brand power was what's carrying it.
Oh, for sure. The leak situation is kind of difficult because we briefly discussed this prior to the recording session, but it's very possible that a lot of it's very possible GTA 6 may get canceled because of this. I don't think that's very likely.
It's a stretch. It's only based off of I think one dev's outburst, but it's still, like James said, it's still in the realm of possibility since source code is the backbone of the entire game.
Right. It might be more worth it to simply cancel GTA 6 and regroup from there while GTA still has a very valuable brand power.
I mean,
and just kind of letting GTA 5 still make its money.
to be exact, it wouldn't be like just flat out canceling it. It'll be more of we'll restart.
Mm-hmm.
We'll build the source code back up from zero. We'll probably add another 8-10 years to development time. Yeah, it's a big thing if you want to start a game. That pipeline is really long.
Right. My point was that they would kind of branch GTA off in a couple, and maybe like a spin-off game or two, and then get back to the main series at some point, perhaps with a subtitle and stuff.
We've seen that done with like other franchises too. Like Assassin's Creed had. I'm a major Assassin's Creed fan, and
as we're all aware.
Don't worry, I totally not ranting on our Discord about Assassin's Creed, but Assassin's Creed had like this one like lull period where they just couldn't do anything really big with the main game, so they released like the 2.5 side games, and they made some money from that. Do you know anything about like Nintendo that did the same thing, or?
I was actually going to bring this up. So kind of the same scenario with GTA 6. There was actually something going on within the Crash Bandicoot series. There was a leak about a year and a half ago citing that there was going to be a multiplayer Crash Bandicoot game called Wumpa League. And the reason why this actually pertains to this is because once you win 100% Crash 4, which was the newest title, there's a specific Easter egg that hints to there being a new game, and presumably it showed the logo. And that is actually a part of the game. But where like leaks come into it is there is a specific Twitter user that actually leaked assets for said game. They didn't leak the entire assets, but they leaked the stuff that actually you'd be able to say, yes, this is actually valid on it. And then because of that, the game was subsequently canceled. And then just recently in the last 6 months, Activision sent out stuff with the exact game logo on it. So apparently it's back on. And I think it's kind of that same scenario that you were saying, James. They may just put it on the back burner, regroup from there, and then they'll do something else.
Right. Of course, I enjoyed GTA 5 when I played it back in like 2017, I think. I think I had a used copy on PC or there's something to that effect.
I've got a used PS4 copy.
Right. I mean, everybody's played GTA 5 at some point. There's no way that they're not going to follow up on GTA 5. But if the definitive edition was anything to go by, and then maybe the reactions from GTA 6, the possibility of like major security leaks with the source code being leaked, I can see in the business sense how it makes sense to just regroup from there. You know, maybe even keep the same concept and art assets, but just, you know, dial it back, give it a year to address everything that you have, and then try again. Because if GTA, like, crumbles, if GTA's brand value crumbles, then that is a major hole for Rockstar, Take-Two, whoever owns Take-Two, you know.
The gaming industry just lives and dies off their fans.
Exactly.
Have you guys heard about Gigantic?
No?
I haven't.
So it was supposed to be a up-and-coming mobile game that was gathering a lot of hype, actually, for the time, for a somewhat casual but pretty interesting mechanic gameplay. It was supposed to be somewhat like Smite and a mix of Twisted Tree Lines from League of Legends. Your nexus, or like your base, would be these two giant creatures, or gigantic, and they will be your moving base, and when the time is getting near, your two bases will be moving towards each other and fighting each other. That was the big hype around that time for the mobile industry, and they even got to the point where Microsoft kind of picked them up. But they're like, first off, there was money problems too, but that one was a big one. But also their fan base began to slow down, drop off because of the long development time they have. It was sad that when released, there was a shell of player base left, but I had fun during the beta. Same thing for Paragon, which was PlayStation like exclusive MOBA that they were doing. It was supposed to be like verticality, same thing with the 3D kind of third person combat and all that. But it fell through because, well, actually that one is a different story from their executives have lost faith in the game, which kind of cascades into the fans too. It's like when your most top dog and the brainchild of this game just drops and fans see this, they'll be panicking.
Yeah, leaks are honestly just a sad thing for everyone. Kind of a big thing that happened Nintendo-wise is, again, with their top dog, like you said, Min. Whenever Smash 4 came out for the 3DS, the entire roster actually got leaked about 2 months before the game came out. And it was actually interesting because people were trying to say that Little Mac and Shulk were edited because their faces looked too similar. And now, mind you, Smash 3DS came out before Smash Wii U. So you're looking at like pixels and everything. So it was easy to see that, like, okay, maybe if I squint my eyes, yeah, they look the same.
Are you referring to the full game or the demo?
The full game. The entire roster.
No. I mean, like when the demo released versus when the full game released.
Oh, no. This leak happened about a week after the demo.
Okay, yeah. Sorry, the way you were talking about it made it sound like when the full game came out. It's like, yeah, obviously, Shulk's in the game.
It was before the game came out.
Right. Okay.
So Little Mac had not been announced. Shulk had not been announced, and of course, people saw the Duck Hunt dog, and they're like, "What is this? why is just a dog in here?" Most recently in Smash, there's something called the Grinch leak. And let me tell you, Smash fans do not like the Grinch because not only did he steal Christmas in his original story, he also stole Christmas for all the Smash fans.
That must be a story for another
I remember
time.
reading about Grinch all the time back when I used to care about Smash speculation. Didn't he leak Steve like prior to him getting announced? And everybody's like, no way Steve's getting into the game. And you know what? If I didn't know any better and I hadn't been... Like, if I'd been living under a rock for the past, 2 years, and I walked out and I was like, hey, what's the roster looking like for Smash Ultimate? And you said, oh, yeah, Steve's in it now. I'm like, come on. Don't pull one over me.
Now, the leak ended up being fake, but it ruins the speculation for everyone. It ruins the hype for people that actually wanted those specific characters in.
That's going back to what I said earlier about, like, how double-edged sword of nature... double-edged sword of a nature that gaming leaks are. And it's just difficult to judge on which side of the sword you'll end at. Because, one, it could hype up the fans and get them more invested. Oh, that cool new feature I wanted and is going to be implemented. Yes!
Yes!
Ha! Paw.
Sorry, go ahead.
That's cringe, but I'm sorry. I had
it wasn't
to be,
that... Okay,
I had to be the one to do it.
That was a genuine bonding moment, I just want to say.
But you could have this, like, hype situation. You can spin it that way. But then there's on the other side where you could just piss fans off. Why are you doing this? Just why?
Mm-hmm. Under the same kind of broad range of issues, how should we treat leaks? Like, if we could reshape the industry's view on leaking going forward, do we just, if something gets leaked, it's laissez-faire, everybody just go ahead and whatever, or do we not worry about leaks at all? Just disregard it unless it's
completely biased on this. I'm sorry to cut you off there, but I'm completely biased, and
I already know where this is going.
Leaks can be toxic for a community.
Mm-hmm.
Any community, actually. Because devs are spending time to develop, refine, get community input, also get executive input if they're like AAA company or like stockholder input, something like that. And they have to meet those expectations, and meaning it's a lot of work, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you get these leaks, fans will be riled up for whatever reason, good or bad. Execs are riled up, and shareholders are like riled up again. You're just putting pressure on the game devs here, and poor souls. They probably don't sleep enough.
I guess to put myself on the other end of that point, I think leaks are okay. Obviously, because you got to look at it from the perspective of there's been a lot of instances where people have intentionally leaked, devs have intentionally leaked content, because it's, if you want to get people riled up, you make them think that whatever they're hearing about like, don't talk about this. Don't talk about this. It's like it's the the Madonna effect.
Something like that.
It's
but yeah,
and if you
I
get like
agree.
if you get a positive reaction to a leak, that's free advertising. That's free confidence from shareholders. That's a huge bump in stocks. And assuming it all works out in the end, it works as a weather balloon kind of.
I agree. Like, on one hand, like I said, I don't. It's toxic for like the developers and also sometimes the community because it can draw out those negative negative feelings.
Right, and if it goes the other way, then yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, I want to add this in that I think gaming companies, especially AAA, needs more transparency and more media coverage.
Oh, for sure.
Because what is it? Rainbow Six Siege. They have a new game mode coming out soon.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. They only announced it like I think 3 days after their biggest event or something like that, and like no one knew about it pretty much, and it was horrible advertisement really. Like they could have put more effort into it and announced it at their biggest event, which was I forgot the name of the tournament, but it was one of their esports tournaments that they were hosting, and they didn't even give a link to the casters to advertise for them. It's why wouldn't you do that in your own like event?
The point about transparency with AAA companies, I think is well made because there's a lot of instances where it's like, dude, if you had just said something beforehand, we could have given you the feedback. If you had just been a little more transparent beforehand, but that also means that on the business end of things, things are a lot more turbulent since you have public knowledge of the event beforehand. You're kind of diluting your hype prior to when the game comes out.
Cough, cough. Any monetization?
Oh my God,
feature.
Yeah. And if there's any unpopular support that's or any unpopular feature that's mandated by shareholders, executives, divine will, I don't know. That's also going to be a lot more time for people to, rally around it and kind of grow to hate it, I guess. But of course, I guess the primary difference between my opinion on leaks and your opinion on leaks, Min, is that I'm coming from the opinion that a lot of the leaks are probably intentional to begin with. Done as an advertising scheme by this point anyways, while your interpretation is that a lot of these are genuine, like, disgruntled employees or hackers.
Well, kind of in a sense. A lot of leaks are just mistakes from employees, really.
That too.
Because how many times do we have employees just ratting out to a friend, like, hey, look at this cool new art I'm making for
See, I think sometimes it's
XOX
an intern.
or something.
It's an intern.
It's an
intern. Wow.
intern.
You mean there are hot shingles in my area? Hey, wait a minute. Where'd my login information go?
Because it was actually funny. So for those of you that aren't aware, I main Terry in Smash. Terry actually got leaked by Nintendo themselves. They accidentally, the night before the announcement was supposed to go out, they put him up on the website, and they put up his music. And
Oops.
quickly turned it down.
Oops.
Yeah, that's a lot of the time where like the funniest leaks come from. Just one mistake from,
Oh, the intern tripped over a cable. Looks like we got to pack up, boys.
Posted something fun.
What do you mean the lead dev was high and it started going on a tweeting spree?
Speaking of that,
What, are we talking about Kojima here?
no, I'm talking about the gaming community, the gaming industry itself, really. Kind of a bro code, it is. And like a sausage fest inside these companies.
Oh, yeah.
That could be a topic for another episode. But
Well, I mean, guys in computers and guys in engineering degrees, it's not an entirely unknown stereotype. And then you get the other side of the coin. Like, I'm in an endocrinology class where I'm the only guy. So,
But yeah, no. Going back to the topic at hand, it can be the funniest of things or just some nothing burger.
yeah, leaks are leaks, and the whole thing is just speculation for the sake of speculation. Because I mean, why not? The video game's going to come out anyways, and if it's good or if it's bad, who cares? At the end of the day, a video game is a video game, and its effects on the industry notwithstanding, we just like to talk about it because why are we sitting here at all? We like to talk about video games.
Amen, brother. Amen.
Well, to get off the topic and to get to our regularly scheduled baseball discussion, Pujols is at 698.
He's almost there. He's almost there.
He's almost there. Oh, we just blew out the audio.
Hold on. So George is not here right now. Everyone press F in chat.
Yeah,
for him.
sorry, George. George is sick. So just give me an F in the comments section. Hopefully that doesn't get marked spam.
I don't want to take away from George's spotlight here.
Aaron Judge is at 59 home runs.
Yes,
of course,
sir. Yes, he is.
Being a Cardinals fan myself, I didn't understand why people were talking about Aaron Judge so much until I realized, oh, wait, that's home runs in a season.
Yeah.
Oh, suddenly this makes sense.
There's a reason why we're in the presence of Judge. We all have to rise.
All rise for the Judge.
Yes, sir.
It just
yes, sir.
when he comes out onto the field, it's okay.
Also, make sure to remove your hat.
Oh,
yes.
I'm not wearing a hat. I'm wearing headphones. Okay, so that's kind of the big thing right now. We're hoping. Maybe there's some machinations going on behind the scenes, and there's somebody telling, like, "Hey, Albert, listen, just get to 699 while you're out on the road. Make sure 700 happens at Busch Stadium, please." And Albert's probably going to go, yeah, all right, because if number 700 happens at Busch Stadium, there's probably going to be riots in St. Louis, but like happy riots, if there is such a thing. Just, I mean, everybody that I've talked to that follows baseball is excited because even though it's not going to be the greatest numbers put up of all time, it also is going
It's a commendable feat.
It's a commendable feat, and everybody loves Albert Pujols because he's been with the sport for the longest time.
Yeah. It's just like whenever some person X climbs Mount Everest. I mean, sure, lots of people have done it, and lots of people have died doing it. But, hey, not everyone does that. That's a pretty big thing on a pretty big thing.
Exactly, yeah. So we're all excited, and, of course, my appreciation as a Cardinals fan goes out to your Aaron Judge.
Yes, sir. I tip my hat.
And we tip our hats at each other, and Min is sitting there going, wait a minute, what did I sit in for?
Hey, I'll give you some hot take right here.
Okay.
All right, let's hear it.
Aren't all sports just the same thing?
No, not all of them have balls.
No.
Majority of them are balls.
Hockey
but
puck.
Hockey
That's all about-
puck.
It's still an object you're bouncing back and forth.
Okay, fair enough. We can get into
Esports.
We can get into the sports.
Digital
You're
balls.
bouncing. You're I mean, hey, Rocket League.
Rocket League.
Shout
There we
out
go.
to our Rocket League team here.
Shout out to Rocket League.
They're bouncing their balls around.
Well, I've got big balls, and he's got big balls, and we've got the biggest balls of them all. Have you never listened to that AC/DC song?
No.
It's on the Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap album. It's hysterical.
Is it an add-on or?
No. It's just a
Is
song.
it part of the song?
No. It's part. No, sorry. The album. Dirty
Oh,
Deeds Done Dirt
okay.
Cheap. It's a part of the album.
Okay, because I don't think I've heard the album. So
Okay. Well, if you get the opportunity to listen to the album, if you have the opportunity if you have a favorite song, I'm telling you right now, just listen to the full album. Just because I like Jackie Blue by the Ozark Mountain Daredevils, and even though I really didn't care for the rest of the album, I still listen to the whole "It'll Shine When It Shines." I think that's the title of it. Just to pay my dues, and I found one more good song on it. What's happened along in my life. But to get back on the topic of baseball, beyond that, Nolan Gorman has been optioned for his poor performance in the latter half of the baseball season. Granted, it's still very early in his career, and he was doing well. He's putting up good numbers beforehand, and it's not like he's been completely useless since then. It's just previously he could be counted on for some good last minute hits, homers, that sort of thing. These days he's not doing as well, so they put him for a 10-day option back in the minor leagues to come back whenever he can. And it's a shame because Nolan Gorman. I mean, any names that I recognize on the Cardinals team, especially this year going forward, are names that I'd like to see going forward for the next decade, that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's always a shame when you get demoted down to the minors, but you're still in the minors.
You're still in the minors.
You can come back.
Hey, exactly.
big names will make big bucks.
Big
Big
You almost said nipples, man.
I mean,
Anyways. Okay. The Cardinals should be playing against the Padres in about an hour. So once I get off of here, I'm going to go watch that game while I'm studying. And speaking of games, so the Cardinals just got finished with a series against the Reds, right? Mm-hmm. And I was watching one of the games, and it was a snoozer. It was 0-0 against the Reds into the 11th inning. Oh my God, please something happen. And so how the game finally ended was the Cardinals got bases loaded in the final, in the 11th inning, the bottom of the 11th. And Goldschmidt hit a grounder to the Reds' third baseman. And the Reds' third baseman threw it to home to try to get Kisner running home. And it bounced off of Kisner's elbow. And then Kisner scored.
Oh.
I love how we're a gaming podcast and we're just ranting on like sports.
At some point, we have to stop lampshading it because we've done that like twice now.
We have.
But I like this. I like having the sports bit on the end.
It's a good refresher.
It's a good wake up call. You know, somebody's like sitting there listening to
like, man,
sports.
Look at
Wait
me.
a minute.
I'm into esports, and I could have been into sports. What a sad life that would have been.
No, speaking of esports, what are you guys' take on like people who are calling esports not sports?
Okay. I guess personally, I have a very strict definition of what I consider to be a sport. So, for instance, I don't think golf isn't a sport, for instance. Even though it centers around a ball, it's not team-oriented. So I don't consider it a sport. I consider it a competition, but I don't consider it a sport. Similarly, poker's not a sport. Darts aren't a sport. Bowling's not a sport.
What about ping pong? I know like a lot of people in Asia's like top on that.
Yeah, that's
pong.
a good point.
Does it is it?
It's not a team.
What about tennis?
But also tennis
big
too.
Ping pong.
Oh, that's a good point.
It's
Tennis
bigger
is
ping pong. Yeah.
I would consider tennis a sport. Yeah.
Then you would have to.
I'd have to lend it to ping pong.
Yeah.
That's
So
a good
then,
point.
is
then
beer pong a sport?
Beer pong is not a sport.
And then
beer pong is something you do when you want to get really drunk really fast.
To the question at hand.
Sorry. Yes, I'm sorry. Mine was a tangent. No, I think I'd consider it a competition rather than a sport.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I understand why it bears the moniker of e-sport because e-competition just sounds odd.
I'm kind of on the same boat with him.
Okay.
Like, sports, I do denote for physical things, a physical competition, with a set of rules that has a winner and a loser. But
team play with a ball. that's kind of the big two things. Is it team based and does it have a ball?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in that, then you wouldn't call like any martial arts sports.
You know what?
Or fencing a sport.
No, I wouldn't. But like I said, I have a very strict definition of what I consider to be a sport.
So
I wouldn't consider most Olympic events, for that matter, to be a sport.
Onto my take, I think that anything. Let me define what I think sport is.
Mm-hmm.
It is any sort of competition, regardless of team oriented or not, driving towards victory over another team or another party.
So poker's a sport.
Yes.
Competitive eating.
Competitive eating could be a sport.
Competitive ironing.
Sure.
Competitive paint watching.
Sure.
How do you define a win state in paint watching? Whoever determines when the paint dries the fastest?
I mean, you just said it yourself.
Okay, that's fair.
Now, yeah, like I think that is what a sport is just a competition that is focused on a win condition. Right?
Yeah, focused on a win condition. Okay.
So
I guess
with that broad of a term, like I would say that esports is a
using
sport.
your metric.
Using
yes,
my
esports
metric,
would
yeah.
be a sport.
And like in terms of effort, like they're not like the underdogs in here. Sure, like let's say baseball, you have to be like in physical peak condition, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like training towards a specific gear set or skill set.
No. Pujols is like 42 and he's pretty slow, but I wouldn't consider.
Then
respect to the man, but it's not. He's not who he was in 2001.
Then I guess It's just training to a specific skill set.
Right.
So, with that in mind, like esports players, they're playing their game actually like 10 hours, 14 hours, give or take. They have to, the orgs that like have those players have to provide like health, gym, and like dietary needs for these.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, I was
sure.
actually to go into that. So while I do have a specific distinction between esports and sports, they are very, very similar. You still have to do the same amount of rigorous training. And now it's different, physical versus digital, but it's still a rigorous training schedule. You still have to eat healthy to actually perform healthy, because in both of them, as the famous saying is, most of the game is mental.
Oh, sure.
For it.
This isn't to say that I consider esports to be a lesser form of competition or anything like that.
And that's not what I'm saying either.
I mean, I still
but
have
they're
great,
not the same.
I still have great respect for people that can smoke me in poker. I still have great respect for people that can beat me in golf. And
I don't have respect for those people.
golfers?
Yeah.
I guess we're not.
I don't know about golf. I have a friend that is big into golf, but I have no idea what goes into that. Because
Unless
for all I know, you're just hitting a ball with a stick.
yeah,
and it's
unless
just a
your
rich
name is
person's
Happy
sport.
Gilmore, I have no respect for
The
you.
way I see it for golfers, it's basically like Zen. The things you do while you're in Zen. And you're walking around in your polo and your nice little like athletic shorts going,
Hey,
you know.
they got to get in the sand every once in a while, you know?
Yeah, right.
I mean, here's the thing with golf for me. Like, I always see all these great shots on, like, YouTube and anything. And, like, half of it is, it's because the course is designed for the ball to, like, do a loop around the hole 6 times. It'll go in, then it'll go out. Then it'll roll back in. And it's just like, you had no influence on that.
And most of the time, it's pretty much on the commentators. Like, to make it interesting, really.
Oh, well, that's with any sport. I mean, that's
Yeah.
half the reason why the commentators are there are to make you care, and is to distract from the fact that listening without commentators is actually kind of creepy. Like if you're not there in
No.
the stadium watching the event, maybe talking with a friend or two or something like that.
That's another. I think that like casters are like an overlooked position in like a lot of job industry.
Oh, sure. And
Because like
I might be very biased for the prevalence of casters and their role in making sure that people really do care about the event at hand. Also, please watch WrestleMania 2 in
Please.
November. You'll see me there.
Yeah, James will be there. We'll have some other people there as well. But James is the highlight.
Mostly me, exactly.
we'll get that ASMR finish.
Oh,
on
yes.
That,
From the depths of hell
From the jaws of
defeat.
is snatched victory. UMKC wins.
Hopefully. we
And other
have
things
that's
I'm
a
going to have to clip out.
that's a hope.
But yeah, like, oh my gosh, I could not watch. I still don't even watch this, but car racing. Oh my god, I need a commentator for that.
See, okay.
Yeah,
I went
'cause-
to after last semester. My buddy had some tickets for the Kansas City Speedway and KCK, so I went all the way back to Kansas City so I could watch the race there. And listen, I sincerely appreciate getting the tickets and getting the opportunity to go to a NASCAR event because it's a cultural thing in and of itself. But we also did sit there watching cars go in circles for about 3.5 hours.
See, I
Hey,
think watching
that's-
paint dry would be
That's
better.
sports to me. That's all sports to me. You are kicking a ball around back and forth.
Wait, but you said all sports, and esports is a sport.
Fine. I mean, hey, look at fencing. You're just wiggling a piece of stick back and forth at another person.
Okay, hold on a second. I think you're being a little.
That's a
Hey, I'm sorry. I'll take all the heat, but like sports in general, I just don't get.
Okay, fair enough.
But anyways,
fair enough.
To get back to some of my Cardinals topics here, while we
actually, just to be on topic, I was gonna talk about earlier. What were we talking?
don't interrupt what I'm going to say if you don't know what you're going to say.
Were we?
I had it on the classic Min moment. I forget stuff like last second sometimes.
Okay.
But anyways, what were we talking about before?
Leaks.
No, just before.
Oh.
Sports balls.
Before that.
What we consider
Before
to be a
the
sport?
race interesting part.
Anyways, moving back on to what I was going to say. So the Cardinals are destined to win probably 90, a little over 90 wins this season. But at the same time, it's like we got a really good season under our belt. It's a pretty classic Cardinal season. Better, not the kinds of seasons where we go on to win the World Series, I guess, but the kinds of seasons where we do well. You know, considering we're a mid to high tier team, we do well. But at the same time, like if we're just going to do well, what's the point?
How many
right?
wells are you gonna add
How many
into
times
there?
are we going to say well? Well. The point is that we haven't been super World Series viable for a while now. We'll get to the wild card slot. We'll get to the NL Central spot and that sort of thing.
I mean,
just to kind of
outside of like the world of like baseball, right? The only fact I know about sports here right now is like Mahomes is being like just the face of NFL.
Oh yes,
Oh, yeah.
Patrick Mahomes. Well,
Yeah.
I'm currently my ignorance of football matches your own, man, because I do not care for football. I do not care for watching football, and I especially don't follow football. And I've made my thoughts clear in episodes past.
Mm-hmm.
We're going old school American baseball only.
Oh yes, if I could have my way, it would be baseball only again.
What about hockey though?
Keep hockey.
Okay, I was gonna say hockey. Now that's a sport that is slept on. Oh my gosh.
It's hockey viewership has actually gone up in recent years, as particularly NFL football. NFL viewership went down. Baseball viewership similarly went down, but kind of flatlined. Whereas NFL viewership continues to decline. Hockey has gone up.
I think that's just a product of the era, really. Like
That's true.
Less and less people are just watching sports.
I remember.
I wouldn't say less and less people, but I mean like more newer generations. They don't give a damn about it.
I mean, with all these streaming services, you can't just flip a channel and say, "Oh, look, sports."
Yeah, you can't just hop onto ESPN regional broadcast and go, "Hey, look, my team's on." But by this point, I remember asking a friend like last semester before I had access, and I was saying to him, "Hey, so if you wanted to watch your baseball team like right now, would you know how to go about doing that?" And he kind of sits there and he goes, "Yeah, I have no idea."
So
The barriers for entry to actually watching sports these days is tremendously high. I think to the detriment of the
it's
industry.
actually having to do with just pure star power and like coverage of that star power. Yeah, I'm gonna use an example in esports because that's really much all I know.
Mm-hmm.
Like you look at League of Legends, Faker. You know that that infamous clip of him outplaying on the Zed. Look at the move, look at the plays, right? And he's just been hyped up over the years. And T1, now T1, that org is just having Faker as their biggest star power carrying that org. Then you look at Overwatch. Overwatch League.
Well.
It's a shame we don't have George here because I know he would
there's-
supplement your Overwatch commentary.
There's no star power in that.
Mm-hmm.
Look at like what? HOTS
Mm-hmm.
failed. No star power.
Melee has survived because of its star power. You have Hungry Box, you have
Yeah.
Leffen, you have
And
Mango,
I think
you
that
have,
that just
PPMD.
I think that just translates into like just IRL sports or too, right?
Mhm.
Like the biggest reason why I know Patrick Mahomes is
Everybody's
everybody
talking
talking
about
about it.
it. He's a household name. If you can't get household names, then it's going to be a recursive kind of thing.
Yeah.
People don't know about it. People won't watch it. If people won't watch it,
And-
people won't know.
And like I think it's also having to do with the system of like play we're doing, like city based, right?
Mhm.
Because like if you're gonna be like it has its advantage for like local local talent, local hype, but then you look at like
Decentralized teams, and they don't have that.
they don't have that, but then mostly those kind of teams rely on star power.
Mhm.
That's League of Legends. That's that's any gaming org actually. They rely on their star power. And,
I think
yeah.
the having that local fan base is important because if you don't, then it's a lot
Community,
harder
yeah.
to look at it this way. I don't care for soccer, but when I heard that St. Louis was getting an MLS soccer team, that instantly made me go, You know what? Yeah, I'd get into watching MLS just to see the St. Louis club do well.
Yeah, that's pretty much like an easy gateway for any fan, really.
Exactly.
Right? You live there.
And if there was a Doom team for St. Louis, like they were just death matching Doom from either Doom or Doom 2, I'd be like, you know what? That's kind of weird, but I'd watch it. Why not?
KC have their own esports.
And KC has an esports.
We
KC
talked about
Pioneer.
that last time.
Yes, we briefly talked about that last time.
Though I don't know about their star power, but right now they're really relevant within like this like esports in KC, with KC being like a top city for esports.
Right.
And I think that's one of KC Pioneer's like kind of outlook on it. They want to get the colleges, the high schools involved, and that's what I've found by just like talking with their admin when I was working with GamerRoos here. They were very adamant on promoting young talents, and I guess it's working for them.
I hope so. I mean, I'd be willing to invest more of my personal interest into esports, I guess, if they were playing the kinds of games that I played myself, and I guess just I guess if I had a regional attachment to them. I don't care about esports teams from like Spokane. I don't care about esports team from New York. I care about an esports team from Kansas City though, and having friends that also care about those kinds of teams is important too, because it establishes a sense of camaraderie and community, and it sets you apart from other places.
The biggest thing is like the gaming orgs are decentralized. They're not based in a city, that I don't believe, though a lot of them, at least in the NA side of things, are in California.
Right. Well,
but like,
California.
Yeah, say what you will, but that's where like the big game companies are, and that's where they're gonna hold like a lot of their NA regionals.
To wrap things up, today we covered the GTA 6 leaks, and today we covered some sports news and some discussions about leaks in general, and how esports ties into all of this. So thank you very much for listening to the GamerRoos podcast. You can expect following episodes here on the K-ROO YouTube channel on Wednesdays or Thursdays. Please stay tuned to this channel for additional student-made content from the University of Missouri, Kansas City. Our thanks from the GamerRoos, and goodbye.